Hello, peoples of the internet, and welcome to this video where today I will be taking around some of the vehicles from last time around another circuit, as they have proven on this West Coast circuit that they are capable. Now, this Pessima did not make the cut, as you're going to see up here, the oil pan is made of cardboard, and basically it just collapses over one of these jumps. There we go. Not good. And eventually that grenades the entire engine, causes this to be the second slowest car in its price bracket. The same thing happens ultimately with this. Some cars just are not built to the same mantle as other ones, and they cannot manage to either grip or corner as neatly as others, or put the power down, or they are just fragile. Again, in this case, this vehicle has broken the oil pan a bit, so, it's not going to win because the engine did fail, I think, in the second lap, maybe at the start of the third lap. And it's a sad fate of really these cars, but that's just the way things sometimes were. Although my next circuit is an Italy kind of hill climb circuit, so it should test durability a bit less and instead outright cornering. So, first off, we have the Picklemobile. Well, okay, admittedly I didn't choose quite so good a colour because it's not very much a pickle colour, it's a lot lighter. More like an inside of that, what do you call it, through. And it's got the hard ball thing in, I don't know. Anyway, we do have to drive this 1.8 litre Sunburst with the TC and ESC off, which I have forgotten to do. Let's do this correct for once. This is anyway a 1.8 litre engine. It is the smallest and least powerful engine that we will come across today. And did I hear some suspension noises there? Already it is feeling though like it's perhaps underpowered compared to other machines I've driven in the past, but it definitely does have the cornering for this circuit. Oof! Please tell me that was just like a slight dint to the wheel. Yes, thankfully it doesn't feel too bad. It is veering slightly to the right, but I should not have been that close to the wall. Thankfully, yes, the Sunburst is not a huge vehicle. It's not a massive Grand Marshal. And the suspension does actually seem to be on the comfort side. No, not comfort side. It seems to be on the sporty side, which is, in this case, a good thing with how we're going to be driving this. As I recall, this made something like, I don't know, 150, not 150. I think it made about 135 horsepower. For the money, that was good. Very good. But it will fall short, definitely, of the cars you'll see today. So I'm really just hoping the power and the tyres are otherwise... Not power, I'm hoping the tyres and the other parts of the cornering are good enough. Managed to take that corner decently well, the inside. Yeah, it's just a shame that I've already messed up with handling and the slight balance of the thing. But it is driving well enough that it doesn't feel like I'm going to be losing any time as a result. I doubt my front right hubcap is there though. Also, I think this is actually the only car we've got today which has hubcaps and not actual wheels. So that's something to bear in mind. You can get alloys at this price range if you buy a Covet, but then that's a Covet and it doesn't make the same level of power. This handles very, very similarly to such a Covet, but such a Covet just made far less power to a point it could never keep up with this. Oh no, remember what I said about those rock walls? I mean, yeah, I can feel, or not feel even, just hear those tyres It's absolute chaos. They are getting the car moving in their credit, but these tyres on an open differential are not the best. It's going still. I mean, thankfully the sunburst is fairly tough, so even with me doing these stupid things, yeah, it's still going up the hill. Although I must say, maybe I've actually straightened it out by damaging those wheels. Yeah, now it's pulling to the left, but less than it was pulling to the right. I've made the car better to drive by making it more damaged, if that makes sense. There we go. So, 3 minute 32. In case you're wondering, this was my test vehicle. This was a Wendover 3300. That was very slow. But that still managed a 351. Still, this is a cheap car. And for 332, I'm thinking maybe that's not so bad. But we'll only see for certain when we get the Pessima Mark II up. And that is our next vehicle. Next up, here's quite an interesting car. It's the Pessima 2-litre Sport. So I know it's kind of living in the shadow of the V6 Sport, but it did very well for its price point. Just within about a second of the Sunburst 2-litre Sport, actually. But it did still beat that car. So let's see how this does. Let's see if we can beat the vehicle that we just had. Oh, that's a nice sounding 4-cylinder. It's quite a bit more muscular. The other engine sounded more high revving. This sounds quite a bit more muscular to its nature. And the gearing does feel longer, but that might not do it in, remember. The gearing being longer, it might give me a chance to kind of think before the power just goes right to the ground. Already, I'm feeling this definitely has sporty kind of tyres and suspension that the other vehicle just didn't have. You'll see, even with 160 horsepower, which is more than that other car, it's generally not struggling as much to put it down. On those cobblestones, sure, but they're cobblestones. When we're on good tarmac roads, it puts the power down no issue. And this is a bigger car, I can tell that much. By how much, I'm not so sure, as it is from the 90s, so... You know, it's being from the 90s. Cars were just smaller in the 90s than they are today, and in the mid-2000s. That's just the way things go. I felt like I got very close to that electrical box there. Ooh, can we pull what we did in the Sunburst? Almost. Almost. Come on. Admittedly, that was largely my fault. Too eager. The car just inspired too much confidence, and then I threw it all away. It was odd as well because it was such a low speed impact. And now it's slightly veering to the left. It did hold up better though than the... It did hold up better than the Sunburst, if only because I'm being a bit more gentle now. Well, at the start I was being a bit more gentle, and then I went and threw it all away. Holding up the RPMs. I think what might have happened there, I might have not respected the size of the vehicle, and then because I didn't respect the size, I wasn't quite ready for it when it did turn out there was an issue with it being as big as it is. Still, along we go. Oh, gentle, gentle, gentle. That might have been where I hit the wall in the Sunburst. I was able to rescue it in this just by a bit of careful driving and the fact that this car is well tuned. But it does always, it feels like it wants a V6. That I could not save with my careful driving, although it does seem like it was just some bumper damage. But yeah, it feels like I can find the limits. Engine starved of oil. I wonder when I did that. It's going to get to the end regardless, but the engine, yes. So it's slower than the Sunburst, but this could definitely be faster if it weren't for my poor driving. Next up, we have another Pessima, which should hopefully, if I'm not completely stupid in how I drive it, prove the capabilities of this car. Now this one has about 20 horsepower more, as I said. It did feel like it needed more power. It also has a V6, meaning the torque as well should help with this being a slightly larger car. I mean, it's not the heaviest in the world, but at the same time, we're not talking an Portobello, is it? What do you call it? The tiny classic, which weighs basically nothing. It's nothing like that. It is still a bigger, more modern car. Oh, I somehow didn't expect it to take that corner as well as it did. I just don't want to lull myself into this false sense of confidence like I did with this car's kind of four-cylinder cousin, because that was ultimately what the downfall was for that car. I just believed in it a little too much. And I'm sure these are capable, in either guise, of great things, but I sadly messed up, and I messed up bad with the other one. This version in West Coast did prove to be quicker, although it didn't last as long. I think it lasted like one lap, but it had still just about beaten the four-cylinder. So, on equal footing, this is probably the quicker of the two. Without a doubt, but I came close to that wall there, but I'm kind of knowing the size now. I didn't even hit it, luckily. Oh, come on, oh dear, that was so close. I feel like I'm just driving this car within an inch of its life, quite literally. If I was an inch closer, I would be destroying the thing, tearing its panels off, knocking the wheels off, puncturing tyres, all kinds of the stuff you don't want to be doing when you're racing a car. Keeping it in third, use the torque of that V6, which is going to help with the hill. This is the biggest engine we've got today, so that should no doubt help with the torque of things. Yes. Oh, that sounds nice. As a result, as I say, it should sound unlike the others, because I believe it's the most cylinders of any of the cars we have got today. No guardrail on the inside, or wall or anything like that, to bump my car. I have done it in, or have I? Wait, it's going! Come on, you can do this, Pessima! You can maybe not do this. This false sense of security, it seems. But it was driving, that's the curious thing. I think it's just something with the wheel axle there. It doesn't allow it to steer. You'll see, I can actually kind of steer it on the other side, but it's too late now, sadly. Again, it's just that false sense of security it gets you into, that you think you can do anything, and you just really can't. And you hit its limits. It's ultimately what did it in on the West Coast circuit as well. It's such an amazing handling car, and then you throw it away. But thankfully on the West Coast circuit, by the time I had thrown it away, it had already done a lap. Anyway, let's see what we've got next. So, what have we got here? We've got the ETK 854, and it's 190 diesel version. As you might hear that engine clattering away. it makes 190 horsepower, so even though it's a diesel, it has got more power than the Pessima because it's a modern vehicle. And it's also a diesel, so it should have torque, maybe even more than the Pessima, despite, I believe, only being a 2-litre engine. There we go, back to where I was intending to go to. And off we go. Now this handled very, very well. It didn't take much to beat the Pessima with this. This was a 1 minute 52, I believe. And the final vehicle barely actually managed to beat this out. Although that proved to be, I guess, a little unpredictable compared to this. This is just really nice and predictable. It will step out on you because it's rear-wheel drive if you are completely crazy and go ham on the power, but generally the grip is good, the suspension's good and lets you do what you need to do. So this is in with a chance of winning. Oh, I tended to go wide there with the Pessima as well. This also had that same problem. I think it's the front wheels just don't get grip round there. Yeah, I'm noticing a few similarities with the Pessima, but it having the rear-wheel drive, it doesn't understeer at all. And that's just because it's like a big executive car, which really don't tend to be front-wheel drive. Audi being an outlier there. But this seems to be based off a BMW. So there is that. I think, in reality, the equivalent would be a BMW 3 Series. From about, let's say, 2015-ish. That's about the real-life equivalent of this. And, you know, people do say BMWs handle well. But hey, the thing is also, ETKs are usually fragile, but it survived oh no, my head's going mad. It survived the West Coast USA circuit just basically undamaged because for some reason this is a rare enigma of ETK 800 series that can actually handle abuse. And it goes exactly where I wanted as well. The tyres are really a lot more sticky. As I said, the back end was going out on West Coast, but they feel oddly more grippy here. Perhaps it has even more grip than the Pessimas did, but then the Pessimas I didn't notice so much in West Coast because they were front wheel drive. I think that might have been saved me with ABS and modern brakes. Although those pillars are not good for visibility at all. As I'm sure you can tell, my head is smaller than that pillar. Nonetheless, I can't complain too much. Look at how quick we're going. 3 minutes 10, excellent. I knew this thing was actually far quicker than it really has any right to be. Still, let's see, our final vehicle is one that puts up a real fight. So, here we have a Sunburst, but this one has a turbocharger and also a 2-litre engine. This is the Sport S all-wheel drive. 219 horsepower in itself, very impressive. But, as I just mentioned, it's got all-wheel drive. So, it seems unfair just how good this thing is, and regardless, carrying on. Yeah, I didn't turn ESC traction control off, and I should really be in manual mode because this is the DCT version. I figured, yes, a modern car, DCTs and autos are a lot better than they used to be. Wow, this thing gets up and goes. It is essentially like a Subaru non-STI WRX, but that doesn't mean it's slow, because those cars in themselves are quick. Oh dear, what have I done? Thankfully, it was just a small nit. Oh goodness, maybe this is too quick for its own good though. Maybe it's too quick for this circuit. The ETK was just so nice. Ooh, yes! All-wheel drive is what you want over the cobbles. It did really nice, nicer than anything else there. Either the rear-wheel drive ETK nor the front-wheel drive issues. And other sunburst, I guess you could say. The tyres are so grippy as well, and the brakes are so effective. Come on. I have done a little bit of damage to the alignment, but it's still going. I have to be so careful, though. I do not trust this thing. I am terrified of it, and I feel it will end up flying off this side of a mountain. Keep it in third gear, because I don't want to go in second and get wheel spin at an inopportune moment. You see, I'm just slowing down there at what seems like moments I really shouldn't be, just because I'm scared. Essentially, I'm sure an expert driver could do it without slowing down, but I'm scared and I know what will happen if I basically ignore my fear. I'm actually concerned this car will either faceplant into the side of a mountain or fly off. You see, there even. I was heading towards the edge, but thankfully the brakes are so good that they managed to save me. There we go. Ooh, slow it, slow it. Not into a wall, please. There we go. Full lock, and I still just barely... Okay, what happened there? The steering works still, because that hit into the rock was a fairly light one. It's still going, it's still cornering, but it just stopped steering at that one point. I think thankfully what has happened at the front is just the bumper, really, and maybe a bit of bodywork. Maybe even a bit of alignment, but nothing that's going to make this car fail to complete its objective. Is that the finish line I see? Yes, just please get there. I know you're fast. I understand that much. And maybe it's even showing up. It's trying to show up the ETK by having a smash into that rock face and still beat it. But did it still beat it? Actually, did it? What's going on with these times? I'm guessing that's to do with the validity, is it? No, it's not. Sorry, I just read it wrong. I read that as if it was a 3. That is in fact a 7. So yes, maybe if it hadn't slid on that grass or whatever it was, and smacked into the rock face, it would have beaten the ETK. But here we have a car that has really just shown itself up. It was trying to say, hey, look, I'm so much better than you, ETK. I can have a small bump and still win. No, I should get rid of that, really. I can have a small bump and still win. It could not have a small bump and still win. That ETK was clearly going a lot faster than it felt like it was going, but it didn't make me feel at unease. So I would say that's the winner. And that's what's curious, because I didn't see that being the case. I saw this as being completely unbeatable. I didn't see a single scenario where that ETK could win against this. I tried to choose this circuit this hill climb, because it seemed like one that would level out the difference a bit. And it did. It more than leveled it out. So, there we go. If you need the best cheap car, buy an expensive luxury German estate. There, what have we proven? The Pessimas were good as well, though. I'd say the Pessima V6 was a good car. It's just, you know, certain things happened and went wrong because I was pushing it so hard. This Sport S as well is a little cheaper than the... It's a little cheaper than the ETK, but still actually about as quick in the real world. And you get all-wheel drive, which would no doubt be useful in winter. Still, I'm going to round that up for now, because I've not got much more to say. And I'll say goodbye until another day.